Sorry to start off on a politics question, but in so many ways, it is going to become more and more pressing for many people, the debate that is taking place in D.C. They are struggling to put food on the table. You are at the forefront of what is happening there. You provide a lot of the food stuff that many Americans eat and many of us around the world eat. Do you think that the politics is going to have a meaningful impact on people's weekly grocery bills? And do you think that ultimately feeds through to you?
Well, I think what you see now is it's not really about the politics, it's about the pandemic. And because we don't have the pandemic under control, there are a lot more Americans and people around the world who are eating at home. And for us as a company that serves people at home, I mean, people have rediscovered that the kitchen is the heart of the home, and General Mills is here to serve that. And so that's what we see in front of us.
You say it's more about the virus than it is about politics, but Eric Rosengren, for example, and all the Fed officials really hammering home how important stimulus is to keep the economy afloat until we move past the virus. I mean, at what point are you going to start to feel that? What's your runway until you get worried?
Well, for a company like General Mills, who serves people food at home, what we see now is contributing to the growth of our business is that people are eating food at home because of the pandemic. They don't want to go to restaurants. They're working more at home than they ever have before. And in times of recession, people switch their eating habits to restaurant eating, to at-home eating. And so we see the confluence of those factors for the near term. Now it's about the pandemic, but even once we get that under control, to the extent that the economy is still going to be in rough shape, that would favor more consumers eating at home, and they're baking and cooking more than they ever have before.
Jeff, how do you keep people interested, though? And I ask this question, as I suspect many other people are feeling it as well. There are so many snacks that you can eat before you start to lose interest. How do you innovate to keep people kind of engaged with the products that you are selling?
Yeah, that's one of the keys for us, and that really started before the pandemic, where we improved the quality of our yogurt, for example, by giving it more fruit, or the quality of our soup, or the quality of our biscuits, or taking artificial colors and flavors out of cereal. And so I think what we see now is that consumers are coming back to many products that they may have left for a period of time, and they're coming back to something different than they left, and they're liking it. And that's why demand for our products is up double digits. Not only through the first couple of months of the pandemic, but all the way through the month of July. And as we look into the future, the key for us is going to be to continue to market our products, to solve problems that consumers have through places like BettyCrocker.com and Pillsbury.com, but also to keep innovating. We have some great innovations coming this summer in yogurt and snack food, because as people keep eating at home, they're going to want something different.
Innovation costs money, as does supply chains. There have been disruptions in your supply chains. Your input costs are rising. How do you square that with how do you offset it? Because I can't imagine in this world right now you have the ability to raise prices on consumers.
One of the things I'm most proud of is the way our supply chain has held up over the last few months. Our demand in the U.S. for our at-home business was up 28%, but we were able to supply that primarily because we kept workers safe. 98% of our workers in the U.S. and our manufacturing plants and logistics facilities showed up for work every day because we created a safe environment for them by keeping people home who needed to be home, but also with protective gear and so forth. So the key to our success has been keeping our workers safe so that we can produce the food the U.S. consumers need right now.
Jeff, let me just kind of boil Alex's question down a little bit further. Are you expecting inflation to become a feature of the landscape? We're seeing it in terms of input costs. Are we going to be seeing it in terms of prices that you can charge? There's an awful lot of monetary and fiscal stimulus. I know we're kind of struggling with that at the moment, but nevertheless, do you think we're heading into a more inflationary environment?
For the near future for our company, we're really not heading into a greater inflationary environment. Our input cost inflation, whether it's labor or whether it's raw materials, is relatively low. We are spending more money to keep our workers safe, and we think that's a prudent thing to do. We're spending less on promotional activity, because the one thing you don't want to do is encourage consumers to stock up when they're already stocking up. And so we're promoting our products less, which is to say discounting less. But given what we see with lower input cost inflation for us, combined with productivity gains, which we still see, we don't see a need to increase consumer pricing and still maintain the profitability of the company.
You have been boosting the number of your partners, though, right? The third-party manufacturers, to meet some more demand. So how does that affect your outlook for cost management?
Yeah, we've done two things. The first thing we've done is we've increased our output at our own manufacturing facilities. Again, I'm really proud of the work that our supply chain team has done. But we've also reached out to other partners to help us produce more product, and that's going to be highly incremental to what we're already doing. And while sometimes the margins are lower when you go out to external suppliers, the margin there still are positive. And combined with what we're doing with our regular supply chain, we think the profitability for General Mills will be quite good.
Jeff, you're based in Minneapolis. How has what has happened in your town changed your view and your approach and your company's approach to race? The death of George Floyd obviously has shocked America, shocked the world, but it happened on your doorstep. Is it changing the company?
It is changing the company. George Floyd's killing has been a tremendous event here in our hometown of Minneapolis, and General Mills has been a company for a long time that has prided itself on its inclusivity. We've been sponsoring the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. breakfast here for more than 30 years, and it's the second largest in the country. We've had a Black Champions Network for more than 25 years. If you look at our board of directors or our senior leadership team, you'll see a very diverse and inclusive environment. And so what's happened with George Floyd's killing is the antithesis of that. And so while we are very proud of what we have done in the history of General Mills as an inclusive company, there's clearly a lot more that we need to do. And so we're focusing on efforts where we can make the most difference. Things like food insecurity for people of color, or education, where we've donated $1 billion over the last 20 years through box tops for education, or improving yet again the representation of people of color in the company. And so we're proud of what we've done, but there's certainly a lot more that we need to do. And I think what's happened with George Floyd here in Minneapolis is a wake-up call, not only for the Twin Cities, but also for the nation.
So on that, when you mentioned hiring, what are your hiring plans or just job plans for General Mills this year?
We plan on doubling. The key for us is going to be we bring in a lot of people of color into the company. We're going to double the number of managers we have at General Mills who are Black. We're also going to importantly, we're going to double the number of minority purchases we make. So purchase from minority-owned companies. These are a couple good ways that we can do to leverage the strength we already have as a company. As I said, with our senior managers and our board, is kind of bringing people up through the ranks as well as promoting minority-owned businesses.
What lessons have you learned from gender equality that you can apply to race equality?
Well, I've learned a lot. I learned a lot from my mom. My mom was a business executive, and I saw what she was able to go through, what she had to fight through. And while she made great contributions, what I've learned is that it's not enough just to be diverse. You also have to be inclusive. You have to give people a seat at the table, but you also have to give them a voice. And that's what I've learned about. And when you do that, you get the best out of everybody. And so while we think it's the right thing to do as a company to be inclusive, I think it's actually a business imperative. We need to mirror our consumers. When we give people not only a seat at the table, but also a voice, our company is better off. And I fundamentally believe that, and I've seen that since I was a young boy.
We started on politics, so we'll end a little bit on politics as well, Jeff. The conversation in D.C. and here on Wall Street is that we'll see higher corporate taxes with a Biden administration, quite frankly, maybe even with the Trump administration, to pay for all the money that we've been pumping into the economy. How are you as a CEO looking at higher corporate taxes?
Well, I'm not sure what's going to happen with the presidential election, but it's very clear that we're spending a lot of money in stimulus money and money that needs to be spent, and eventually we're going to have to pay it back. And it'll be up for the new administration, whoever that's going to be, to determine how we do that. We're mostly focusing right now our efforts on the things that are within our control, which is making sure we make the food that the country needs right now.